Happy Saturday, everyone. For the second straight weekend, Ohio State hits big on the recruiting trail. And for the second straight weekend, it's an in-state prospect announcing his decision to play for the Buckeyes. Today, it is four-star offensive lineman Carter Lowe, the top-ranked offensive lineman in the class of 2025 inside of Ohio's borders, and a major priority for Justin Frye, Ryan Day, and the rest of the Ohio State coaching staff that they have been working on for well over a year on the recruiting trail. Carter's going to join us to talk about his decision and what ultimately led him to picking the Buckeyes. We'll do that right now on Birminology on the podcast. As promised, Carter Lowe joins us now. Carter, congratulations. The announcement is official. You have committed to Ohio State. How excited are you, first and foremost, to just have this over with? Because I know, you're not a guy that loves this process a lot. I know you've enjoyed taking visits and seeing places and getting to know the coaches, but I don't think you've really loved the recruiting process and all this extra attention that comes with it. So let's just start there. How glad are you that this is over?
I feel really relieved. I talked to a lot of coaches today, that I stopped. Obviously, I said I don't hate talking to them or something like that, but it's actually a lot of stress, took it off of me. So I was very excited, get this over with, really lock in on, Coach Frye, Coach Day, and all the coaches I do talk to at Ohio State.
This process really with Ohio State, it seemed like it went from like one gear to a totally different gear. And it started, I think, back basically in June when you did your one-day camp at Ohio State, the first one. Came back a couple weeks later. Then you were there for the barbecue at the, Ohio State's barbecue bash or whatever they were calling it. Then like 3 games during this season. What was it about the relationship with Coach Frye essentially that really felt different? Because when I was at the school visiting you in June, and you said that the relationship you had with Justin Frye was by far the best one you had with any coach. What was it about him that you really connected with?
Obviously a lot of other schools, some of them made it farther in the playoffs, and they made it that was their excuse, but they didn't talk to me much. Coach Frye never made it that, throughout the entire season. He kept hitting me up, talked to me all the time. And that's probably the biggest thing is show that he was really wanted me because he talked to me a lot. That's probably a big thing for me because I'm big in relationships, was, him reaching out as much as he did. I think that helped a lot. And then even since the day he offered, he stayed on me, which was big for me. But that's probably it, just keeping in touch as much as possible.
This announcement happening on January 27th, I think by the time this goes public, it'll be almost 2 weeks ago when you told me that this was happening, that you said you were done. What ultimately was it in that moment? I know that was the night after Ohio State had 4 assistant coaches at your basketball game, but it's not little gestures like that aren't going to be enough to make that decision for you. Something else had to compel you. What was it that made you finally say, I don't need to look anymore. I know I want to be a Buckeye?
Well, I've been thinking about this for a while, since around the Penn State game at Ohio State. I've been feeling really good about them. And, I thought, man, I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to take it slow. Keep thinking upon this, thinking if this choice is really right for me. And, I think it was a good time to do it. I've always had the feeling about Ohio State that's different than other schools. Obviously not because it's so close to home, my family comes to me, but it's just, you can't really fight the feeling. And the feeling with Ohio State just felt really right. So that's why I did it.
I know that, when you're talking about that Penn State game, there were a lot of guys in the class of 2025 visiting that weekend. You've started to build some relationships around the state of Ohio. I know that Tavian St. Clair has been talking to you a lot. And, what does it mean to you as an Ohioan? And I know early on in this process, you were like, hey, I'm looking at Georgia. I'm looking at Alabama. I'm looking at the SEC. I'm looking at Michigan. There's a lot of opportunity out there for a young, talented person like yourself. But at the heart of it, you're still thinking about, hey, home is Ohio, and this is where I'm going to be playing my football from now on. Did it start to mean something more to you at any point, or is that conversation real?
Yeah, for sure. In the beginning, obviously, I had, my options open. They were for sure. I was thinking about the SEC, but I thought about my grandparents. My granddad, he's 80 and he's really old. Obviously, he's not going to live forever. And I love to see where he can see me play. And I don't know if that would happen if I went somewhere farther. And, I started to think of that, especially towards the end of recruiting. I wouldn't say that's a super, super big factor for me, but that's definitely something that steered me towards that because I'm really close to my grandparents.
Tavian, like I said, have been getting to know you and talking to you and trying to bring you on board for a while. Now that it's done, do you feel like you are the type of guy that is going to be aggressive in talking to other players around Ohio, like Trey McNutt, Marquise Davis? I mean, Luka Gilbert, there's Justin Hill. There's a lot of guys in the state that Ohio State is recruiting. I know you're not like a guy that wants to be in people's faces. It's not your personality, but when you're a top player in the state, it matters, right? I mean, it opens the door and it opens the conversation for a lot of that. Hey, the best in Ohio have to stay in Ohio thing. Do you feel like that's something you're going to be willing to do?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've already started. Obviously, this is before I've announced it, but I've definitely hit up a lot of guys. I've talked to Justin before. I talked to a lot of guys. What's his name? Offensive lineman out of Alabama, Ohio State's recruiting.
Yeah,
What's his
Micah
name?
DeBose.
Micah DeBose. I was just talking to him today. But yeah, I've already started. That's probably a big thing for me. Obviously, I'm the most talkative person in person, but if I can shoot somebody a text and let them know, that like I would like to play with them, that's easy for me. So I've obviously I'm going to talk to them about that. Trying to build the best class. And that's what I'm going to do.
At the night that we're recording this is a big night in college football. Jim Harbaugh announces he's leaving Michigan today. As you start to look at this, I mean, two of your top five, you had Alabama, you had Michigan, and both of those two, both in the playoffs. Now they have brand new coaches, and it seems like the business of college football has taken on a whole new meaning in the last couple of years. And how have you felt like your opinion about football or the business of college football changing? Has it changed as you've gone through this process?
Obviously, recently it has been crazy, but I didn't start playing football until my freshman year, so I'm pretty fresh on like the opinions of everything, how it's changing. So obviously, it's different than what it used to be with college, the transfer portal, NIL, all of that. It's very different. I don't have too much of an opinion on it, but yeah, I'm excited to see how it will keep changing too.
Plan for you is to enroll early, I assume, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that means this is your last basketball season.
Yes, it is.
How hard is that for you? I know you're a big basketball guy. Basketball is your first love, sports wise. Like, how hard is it to think that this is the end of the basketball career for Carter Lowe?
It seems crazy. Like I feel like I just got into high school. Obviously, basketball was my first love, but football has really taken a toll on my life. Like I really, really fell in love with the game. Obviously, that was my first love, but football has just done so much for me, so much for my family, so much for my life. And I'm just super excited to take that next step. Obviously, it's a big step for me, and I would be sad, leaving basketball behind. But I'm just really excited for my future. And but I did love basketball, but it did me get my good. Got my footwork together, got me where I am now, and I just thank basketball for that. But I'm excited to move to my next chapter.
Carter, you are the highest ranked offensive lineman in Ohio since Paris Johnson in the class of 2020. It seems like a long time ago, but Paris obviously has only been out of Ohio State for 1 year. That's not to put a lot of crazy expectations on you, but I think you look at the Ohio State roster in the offensive tackle situation, and you see potentially an opportunity for you to play early in your career like Paris did, I imagine.
Yes, I do.
Where do you think you need to take the biggest steps to make sure that you're ready to do that when you enroll next January?
Obviously, just physically getting stronger is probably a big thing for me. That's probably the biggest thing. And then learning the plays when I do get there will probably be a big thing for me too. But yeah, I'm super excited. Obviously, some big shoes to fill in. Playing tackle at Ohio State, but I'm excited to get on campus when I do, and obviously get stronger. So that's probably my biggest thing is getting stronger.
I was talking to Coach Winters earlier on Wednesday, just catching up a little bit about you. And one of the things he said that he hopes to see happen in this offseason is that you go from being the lead by example guy that you have been to more of a vocal leader. Is that a difficult transition for you? And is it something that you can practice, or is it just something that you think has to come naturally?
I don't think it'd be too difficult for me. This year especially, I think I've got a lot better, being vocal, especially towards the end of the season, I did for sure. I feel like I've always been the younger guy because I started as a sophomore. I feel like I was always the, younger one, when I was playing football too. Everybody had me under their shoulder. And I'm super excited for this season to, help those young guys too. So I think it'd be a big role for our team. It'd be big for me to step up into that leader spot. But yeah, I'm super excited. I don't think it'd be too difficult for me. I'm super excited to see how it goes.
Switching gears a little bit, you've been to Columbus a lot in the last year. Have you found like the place that you feel like you have to eat when you go there? What's the go-to joint for the Lowe family?
Well, there is one place because we haven't ate out in Columbus much. Only one time we have like outside of Ohio State. What is it? It's like a restaurant sit down. I've been there with Coach Frye once, but I can't remember what it's called. They sell about everything. It's kind of on the higher end. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really good place. I'll let you know what that's called when I remember it.
Well, there's a lot of good restaurants within that mile of campus, so it does allow you the opportunity to get out and see some places. Do you regret not playing football at Start High School in Toledo? Let's just start there, because obviously I'm a Start guy, and I'm not supposed to actually support anything you do as a Whitmer Panther. So, do you have any regrets that you didn't go to Start?
I have no regrets at all. I think Whitmer is the 100% best fit for me. Like, going into it, I had a couple of schools to pick from. Star obviously was one because I do live in the Starter district, but Central Catholic was the one that was pulling for me hard too. I talked to them a lot about going there, but I'm glad. I'm so glad I went to Whitmer. My offensive line coach has done a really good job, developing me, helping me get better, really taking me in because I was not good at football when I first started. I knew nothing about the game. And I just went from that to where I am now. And I think he had a really, really big part in doing that. So I'm really glad I went to Whitmer.
There's a lot of young talent coming through the Whitmer pipeline. The school system is very it's big. It has a lot of talented young athletes through it. Being that you're in this position that you are, Carter, what would the advice be for the rest of the kids that are going to now look up to you and say, hey, if Carter can do this, I can do this? What's the best piece of advice that you're going to give to kids in the future?
I know it sounds like cliche, but hard work really does pay off. Like, um, after my freshman year, I got some interest, and I didn't even play a varsity down there. And I'm like, they were like Miami of Ohio, schools like that. A lot of MAC schools were talking to me, but I know I wanted to go bigger and better places than those. So it was a really, really big off season for me, and I worked like I really did work as hard as I can every day. Like, I did a lot of yoga stuff with Ryan Christie. He's a guy in my area in Toledo. He does like different like ankle mobility stuff and like Nordics. I worked with him a lot, so that helped me a lot. And just staying in the gym and like keep working on my footwork with football and the offensive line is hard position to play. So I kept trying to doing that, and it really did pay off. I had a really big sophomore season, and then after that, a really good junior season too. So hard work really does pay off.
Now, as we record this again, we're doing this a couple of days before the announcement gets made. Have you officially told the coaching staff that you're in, or do they not know yet?
I have. Yeah, I didn't want to scare them too bad or surprise them. So I told them before. Yeah, I did.
Try to give us an idea of that phone call. Did you have to call Coach Dave first? You call Coach Frye first? And what was their reaction?
I called Coach Frye first. We talked. I didn't tell him I was going to commit like before I texted him. So I texted him and told him I had a couple questions. We talked for a little, and I had him add Coach Day, and I ended up, telling them how I felt, and I told them that I was committed. They were super excited. Coach Frye was in the car. Yeah, he was pumped. The guy, he was like screaming in the car, and the guy next to him in the parking lot was like looking at him crazy. So yeah, they're definitely pumped to have me, and I'm really excited to be at Ohio State.
I mean, is it surreal? Has it hit you yet that you're going to play football at Ohio State? I mean, I think in my job, one of the cool things is that I get to talk to kids like you who get these opportunities, but I don't think that the outside person, the outside perspective can really ever truly understand how incredible the realization of all your hard work must be. It does, like when you told your parents that you made this decision, like when you told your grandparents, when you told your best friends, like does it take you back a little bit by surprise, be like, I can't believe I'm getting to do this?
It does for sure. Being in the position I am is really only because of God. I really believe that. And I just came so far, and like especially when I first got the offer from Ohio State, it was a year from the day I'm committing to, which is like a full circle moment. So yeah, like going back to that time where I first got offered to like where I am now, it's just crazy. It definitely, it's surprising because I didn't even know I was gonna play football. Like God has really had a store for somebody like you don't even know. So I'm glad I kept my mind open to football, and I'm so glad I started playing this sport. But yeah, it really is crazy to be knowing that I'm going to be a Buckeye and play at Ohio State.
Was that the plan? The 27th was picked because of that 1 year date, or was there a different reason that you picked the 27th?
It actually wasn't. So 2 weeks ago, I knew I wanted to, but I wasn't 100% sure on a date. I knew I couldn't do it, obviously, the weekend before because I was going to Ohio State for a visit. And then I was like, why not do it next weekend? And I ended up seeing somebody on Twitter reposting, like, this is the day he got offered last year. Like, he might be committed. And I didn't know I didn't like it or nothing like that, but I noticed that on Twitter. So that's the only reason I really know.
Yeah, it's like when Aaron Scott committed and it was his dad's birthday, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's got to be Ohio State," and he's like, "I didn't even think about that." Like, but I mean, we all think about it. So, look, man, I don't want to keep you too long. I know this has been a crazy, chaotic week for you. I really do appreciate you taking the time and having this conversation ahead of time so that I can leave you alone for a few days and let you celebrate. What's the big like going out to dinner celebration meal for you and your family on Saturday night in Toledo?
Well, it's probably whatever my grandma wants because they live in Akron, so they're gonna come to town. My grandma loves Outback, so I'll probably go out and get a good steak.
I know you live right by Mancey's. Okay, like
We do, like literally right down the street from Manchester, but
I
I'm
know
not.
when
I'm
you
not
go to
really.
Outback.
I'm not. I'm not big on steak. So like my parents, they love steak. My grandparents, they love steak. I'm not huge on it, but I'll eat it. So I've actually never been to Mancy's.
No, do that one time. Okay, once the state of Ohio allows for NIL money to start coming into high school students, make sure the first place you take your parents is to Mancey's. All right,
I will for sure.
Carter Lowe, he's committed to Ohio State. It is the culmination of a year's worth of recruiting and a big moment for him, his family, and for Ohio State. He's one of the top players in the country and has been the top prospect on the offensive line for the Buckeyes since that offer happened. Carter, thanks again for taking the time to join us on the show.
Thank you. Go Bucks.
I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been Birminology. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.